Hi, this is Sally, and today I'm going to be working on this chair. This is not going to be a full upholstery project because all I need to do is to repair the seat. Unfortunately, the seat is attached to the front here and obviously to the back. So let's get on with it. What I need to do is pull this out very carefully because I need to put this back in when I start putting the back in. Ease that out. There we go. Sometimes when you pull this out, it will actually pull and tear the top. It looks like this is going to come out quite nicely. So I need all of that out all the way around. And I also need to pull this up here carefully on both sides without ruining the woodwork. So that can come up. I'm thinking to about here because the side of this chair is about here. What I need to do is find the staples along here and see if I can ease them up. There we go. Usually I don't care if I ruin the fabric because I'm putting new fabric on, but I do have to care with this. I can see this is going to take me a little while to ease these up. That might be another one. There we go. So I'm going to make my way around the two sides and the back of this chair until I've got all of this up. I've pinned this up so it will not fall down and get in the way. I need to remove this bottom layer because that is the seat underneath. I am a little bit concerned about this part because it's right under here and I don't think I'm going to be able to remove it. If I can remove it, I will, and if not, I'm going to over web it and bring the webbing down over the side, which really you shouldn't do, but you know, sometimes you have to do something a different way. So that's my next project. The whole idea is to get it all out, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can. Whatever I can't get out, I have to just leave it in. Something I have noticed about the wood is it just breaks. It's not very good quality at all. I've had to be really careful. It either crunches or chips up. Modern furniture isn't as good as it should be, which is a shame. That can go through. Now I'll work my way around. I've pulled the seat forward. I'm going to pull this out, which is stuck onto there. Undo this and pull the remaining webs out. These are only 2 inches wide. They've got lots in there, but they really didn't do a very good job. It had 6 webs going across the front to the back and 5 webs going from side to side. I folded the centre webbing in half to start off with, and I'm going to measure around here to here, 14.2, so that's 7 there. That's the centre. Unfold that. I'm hoping that I can staple it on here. I've managed to get them right on the edge there. Fold that over and see if I can at least tack them down as well. So that's secure there. I've put the web stretcher in and I'm going to leave it on the side there for a sec. 22.5, that's 11.25 is about there. I'm going to move this over and pull that into place too. Pull it right down and secure. Cut that back, fold that over and staple that into place too. I'm going to pop this one here and I'm going to try to secure that as well as I have there. I'm also going to bring it out slightly towards the leg because my next one has to come in here. Sometimes when you're doing webbing that goes around the corner, put 2 stabilizing staples here which you can take out, because as you can see this side here is really loose, which means I've got to pull at the back and straighten it up and then pull at the front, otherwise the webbing isn't going to go in evenly. If it doesn't go in evenly, then it's going to wear on one side opposed to the other. So I'm going to undo the back and put the back in. Just taken out the 2 stabilizing staples from the front here, and I need to make sure there's enough room for another row of webbing to go here and for it to look even. I'm going to hook up my web stretcher again and pull that right into place and in. Fold that back and staple that into position. I use 1/2 inch staples on this, so they go in nice and deep. So that one goes through here. It's going to be a slight angle. I'm going to put my stabilizing staples will go here. If I pull that back here to the back of the leg, comes over quite a way. I'm going to push that forward, but still in a straight line like that. And I am actually going to staple this around the side here. Reason is I think I've got another set of webbing that's going to come to about here. And because it's the outside edge, it's not going to have that much pressure on it compared to the center ones. But I am still going to fold that over so that the stress is taken out of those staples. I can put it over the top here because it's not going to interfere with the webbing that comes along here. And again, I'm going to just bring it in evenly along the front here and into position. And then I'll do the other two coming forward. I fed the webbing under this side, up and down all the way to this side. I'm going to do it about finger width away from the side there so it shouldn't interfere with anything on the front. Fold it over like I've done everywhere else and secure. Pull the side in as hard as you can and then secure as best as you can. Cut it back, fold it back, secure. Feed it under the side like that and across. This time the weaving goes the other way. This is so that if any one of these gives, there's still the support of the others woven into it to keep it in place. I've woven this one into place to match this and slid it up underneath this webbing here. Secure it both sides and then I'll feed the one that goes in here into place and the webbing is completed for this chair. There's a slight opening here, so what I've done is I've taken a little piece of fabric off the seat, fold the side in first and then the top over there. It's not going to be very easy for me to put in, but basically I am going to catch a stitch along the top here so these stitches can't give anymore, and then down and down. My main aim is to catch across here. If this opens up anymore, it'll just carry on splitting it up. It should have a piece of fabric all the way down. I think it does. It's a tan fabric which is behind here, but even so the seam has already started to give. At least I caught it in time. Even if the webbing wasn't here, it would still be awkward because it's right over here. It doesn't matter which way I go, it's going to be a pain in the butt. So I will show you my fixing after I've done it. Now, whilst this is not the prettiest patch, I have gone up, across and down and then across here a couple of times. It's got a rough edge, it won't matter, it's all the way down there. I've just put a piece of cotton over here so that the webbing underneath will not cut through the foam that's going on top. I'm going to put this along the front edge like that and just push it all the way to the back so it goes into place. It's going to take a little minute to work out so it goes in straight. I think that's it. That can all go back. Now all I've got to do is put this piece underneath as far back as I can so that pushes that up and it looks plump. I think that's got to go further back here. There we go. Like that. I think that's level at the front. Pull this over and to the back. I'm just going to pull and ease and pull all of this in and keep pushing that back. The thing is that this will have altered slightly over the years, so I've got to take that into consideration. Having pulled and pushed and pushed and pulled, I think I've got that where I want it. It's not gone in here as well as I would have liked it to. The reason is it shows here and it shouldn't. I'm going to start on the other side. That side seems to have gone in better. It's still not perfect there. This comes down too far, so I'm going to actually put a little cut up here. This is not going to work. Comes too far over. Pull that out and just ease up here. Push that underneath. I'm going to put a bit of packing up behind here to fill it out and then pull it in, because at the moment I've got this gap and I don't want that gap there. That's got to be filled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this side of the fabric, not too much, probably halfway along. I have a piece of foam here which I'm going to tuck into here like that to fill out everything here. Pop that under the white stuff that's there, pull that round and into place. Hopefully that will do the job. I think that will work. So that's gone in and filled that corner out enough that it looks almost natural. It's a bit lumpy, but it's old foam that's just been reused. I think that will work fine. Having done that, I'm going to fold that underneath like that and up against here and secure it. I'm going to do that all the way along. I might as well do it the same way they did it, and I can almost see the original fold line, so that's where I'm trying to work to so I don't pull it in too much. I managed to cut up and then put the piece of foam in. It seems to be in the right place, and now I'm going to pull this side into position. I can see more or less where that line is, and I'm going to roll it up to where it needs to be. I'm going to take all these pins out that I put in to hold everything in position while I worked on the underside, and then pull this on down. I've got everything attached there. I can't do anything with this until I have the side into place. So I'm going to bring that down like that. Where necessary, I'm going to trim some of the longer lengths back, because I don't really need all of that in there. I've taken the little plastic thing off the end there so it fit nicely into there. I need to make sure this comes across far enough to fit all the way down in there. I've actually managed to get them right into the base, which is a good place to have them. Sometimes you end up with them going into the side here and they show. Take these little bits off and straighten it up a little bit. Not too much, because that's what I'm relying on to hold it all in place. When I take this out, it just means that there's less in there to disturb the piping when I put that back into place. If I attach this here, it's going to show, so I need to cut all of that out as I go around. I'm going to push it in, determine where I need to cut it, and then cut the pieces out as I go. It's going to be a laborious job, making sure that everything's going where it needs to. The way this goes implies that this was really pulled in hard, which means I cannot cut anything back from here. So when you're working your way around, just make sure you're only cutting back where you can, and you're just going to have to work in where you can't. It's a bind when that happens, but they really pulled this down here and I have to make it work. So I'm going to work my way into this area, and then I'll work from the other arm up, across and into place as well. I've just got a little bit of trimming to do, but not much, otherwise this isn't going to work. This has split. I'm not surprised. It wasn't designed to be pulled out like I pulled it out. I've got a length of upholstery thread here. I'm going to put this in a little bit higher, about an inch I think. So that's where it started to split, and here is where it's still secure. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go in about 1/8 of an inch on this side of the seam, pull it through, 1/8 of an inch on the other side, like that, directly opposite, about 1/8. Certainly not much more, you don't want 1/4 of an inch, you want it tiny. And then on the other side, all the way down. Fortunately, it's not very far. You don't want somebody's chair splitting on them after you've made a repair, even a small one like this. Cut that thread out from there. 2 more stitches on our cast off, and that will hold it. After all, there's no stress on the outside of a chair. Not like on the inside of a chair where somebody's sitting down and moving. That's my last stitch there. Pull it down tight, and I am going to overstitch it where the top of the ridge is. 2 or 3 overstitches. Not taking those little pieces in with it, or my threads will be cut, and I don't want that. That should come into the finish there and hidden by the piping. That's that mended. Obviously there's a weakness here, so I'm going to staple across here and then turn the chair on its front and carry on to the centre back. Here, where it was really awkward to get, I actually stapled up into the back of the chair 3 times. It should be enough to hold it. I'm only really worried about this centre part here. The rest is held into place. There's a couple of places that can still be cut back if I feel they need to. I might be able to push them in with the piping when I glue it all into place, and it might hide. But I'll check that out when I get there. This is the trim that I've got to look at. For the most part, it's still sewed and to a certain extent glued together. But here, the stitching has come undone. And I don't really want to put the glue in and then push that round and hope for the best. They cut it so close to the stitching that it's just shredded. So let me see how I can get that into place and looking at least half decent. I'm going to start off here where it's still connected to each side. I'm going to sew very carefully a little way over on each side like this, so that it holds and there's still a little bit of fabric under there, like that. And then I can roll it and put the stitch in a little way up and across. It does go slightly into the piping cord, but not by very much. I'm going to do that all the way along this opening. And then it's not too tight. It's just going to hold everything in place, and then of course the glue will take over when it's glued into the chair. It's going to be a little bit slow, but worth it, I think, in the end. When you're putting things back together, especially when I can't get this colour fabric or maybe not the same weave, if I got the colour fabric and I want everything to be the same, I have to use what I have in order to do it. If there's a small gap, I'm not going to worry. It's these long ones that are a bit of a bind for me. And by taking it into the piping, it just stabilizes it a little bit, because then it's being held against the piping instead of just the fabric. I think that's going to work. We'll see in a minute if it doesn't. This area is quite close but slightly fragile, so all I'm doing is an overstitch just to hold everything in as I travel to the next area that needs to be looked at. As long as it looks neat, that's all that I really worry about. Not that anybody's going to see it anyway. When I've finished, I'm just going to travel the needle across like that, cut that. The first thing I'm going to do is re-glue this into place. There we go. And hopefully I get all those loose ends in. I've got a little bit there that I need to pinch up. I need that in and up because the next piece comes in under here. Hopefully that'll hold it. I'm going to have to cut off straggly ends like that all the way across. That needs to go into here and hide. Put that along here and as much as I can here. And I'm going to pop that in like this to that end and into place like that. It's not going to be as good as it was the first time round, but that's okay. And if I get any on here, I'm just going to scratch it off like that. I'm going to make my way all the way around here. And again, I'm just going to ease all of that in, try to keep all those loose ends in as well as I go around the chair. Hopefully it won't look like I've done too much damage to it. Now when you pull something out, you're obviously going to leave a little bit of damage behind, but hopefully I'll be able to hide all of this. Make sure the rough edge goes in. I'm just hoping this piece of piping is long enough to go all the way around. That would be so embarrassing if it's short. Won't be so bad if it's longer, but if it ends up shorter, then I've got a major problem on my hands. I'll have to start again. Just making sure that that seam is pushed in to the groove all the way around. Thank you for joining me on this project. As you see, the seat now looks 100% better than it did before. I'm not 100% happy with the way the piping went in. It was a little bit short, so I had to bring down the side to hide the difference, but that was to be expected because you already had glue in there and loose ends, so the groove in the side of the chair had already been taken up by quite a bit of crap that didn't need to be there. Unfortunately, you can just see the repair that I made in here. It's not that obvious, and a little scatter cushion in the back here would hide that problem, easily be hidden. But I think she's going to be really thrilled with this when she gets it back. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be brilliant. And in the meantime, take care, see you later. Ciao!